Let me say good evening. I must say I feel highly honored and I'm delighted to be here. Once I was introducing me as a psychologist, well, I must correct that. What I talk about is an aspect of psychology, but I am not a psychologist. But maybe because I talk about it, maybe somehow I could go for a psychologist. But I'm excited to be in subject. I'm ever grateful for meeting Sam and Fitzroy. They have become brothers to me as it is. And periodically I call them from Nigeria and we rub minds together. I see so much greatness in them and I believe that their light will continue to shine brighter and brighter. Not to be brightness of the moon face on. I'm also happy to see Jojo and Patrick. I met them sometimes ago in my previous visit to Ghana. Well, I was telling Massa that I do hope I will not be unduly elaborate. I have this tendency of being too expansive, but that is born out of the fact that I feel that if we are already accustomed to doing things and seeing things in a particular way, it's not always out of place to reinforce and intensify the point one wants to make. I feel like it takes so much more of persuasion to actually transform and change what we already used to, what has become the default in us as individuals. So when Sam was having a chat with me, I said, well, next level, and thinking out of the box, I said, well, maybe we should start with a kind of great teaser, But I can see that we don't have we don't have materials to write on or something. Yeah. I want you to look at Massa said she's looking forward to this. Well, I want you to look at this. How many points can we say we have here? 25. Fitzroy. 25. So how many squares do you think we can bring out of this? How many squares can we possibly bring out of this? 16. 16.
20.
What?
20.
20. 21. 21. Yeah. Patrick. 20. Fitzroy has 20.
Yeah, 22.
22. Fitzroy can see 22. Do you agree with Fitzroy that you can see 22 out of this? What do you say, sir? You can't really see the 22. I hope I'm not wasting your time here. 21, you agree to 21?
I changed to 25.
To 25. Great. Don't mind Joe.
Yeah. 22.
22.
24.
24? Can you show us the 24?
I have 26.
26. Great. Fitzroy, wake up. 26 already. Yes, Patrick.
For me, I think it will depend on what you can do, what you're allowed to do or not to do.
No, do whatever you can. You are not constrained. You see, he's already using his creativity in a different direction to simply escape. Patrick. Yes, sir.
26.
Huh?
26.
26. Okay. Any more? Can you see the 26? Oh, no, you can't. Can you see the 26?
I see 23.
23. Sam,
Yes.
your smile is expensive. Okay, because of our time, is this working? Is it working? Oh, okay, thank you. That's our 16, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Is that a square?
Yeah.
Is that all we can get?
No.
What about this?
It's a square.
Uncountable.
Uncountable. One of my friends that I meet, he said after yours, send this to me this morning on WhatsApp, greeting me, and I think I should also share it. The guy must be a great entrepreneur. What do you say, Patrick?
Is that breakfast or?
That's a mobile bar.
You can get it on the go.
It's a mobile bar. So increasingly, most of the time, you see that we simply hold ourselves back from the possibilities that are there for us. We simply conclude, oh, this is not possible, without even making any effort to see what is possible. Sometimes tradition holds us captive. What we are comfortable with, what we are used to doing, what we feel that is the possibility for the situation we are encountered with. We don't actually go the extra mile. We don't put that extra effort to actually explore infinite possibilities. In life, everything in the real sense of it seems infinite, and therefore it is out of place when you want to simply say that is not possible. Because what will probably appear impossible right now may be a possibility in just a couple of days to come or a couple of years to come. To think that we'll be having handsets, GSM handsets, these sets that we have, that we can carry around today, some 25, 30 years ago, so many people have said that will not be possible. As a matter of fact, this morning I was just reading about Apple launching iPhone 6, and I remember what Steve Jobs himself, the genius himself, said that nobody was going to buy a phone that is big. When some of the customers said, why don't we make our phones a bit bigger? I said nobody will buy it. Then it will be too difficult to manipulate in the hand. And therefore concluded nobody will buy it. But it's gone now. It's not so much for Apple and even for us as one humanity. But you will discover that what he said was not possible is now possible. So let's always, and I enjoy playing around with this a lot. I enjoy playing around with it because most of the time people simply tell you that is not possible. I tell you it cannot be done. But just this exercise for instance shows that there is infinite possible squares that we can bring out of these dots. So I want to encourage us in our business, in going to the next level. We must at all times understand that we need a kind of mindset, a mentality that we believe first and foremost that nothing is impossible. And I think that, more and more, I was discussing with Sam and Fizrod, we tend to be very spiritual these days. And I take a cue from that because everything, to him who believes, everything is what? Is possible. In fact, when I looked at the kind of challenges that the whole world is going through presently, in West Africa we have the Ebola crisis, in Congo they also have the Ebola crisis as it is, in Nigeria we have the Boko Haram, in the Middle East we have the Palestinian-Israeli crisis, you have the Syria crisis, you have the ISIS crisis in Iraq, and on like that, actually all across the globe there's one challenge or the other. But I said to myself that indeed The human spirit is always winning. Nothing on planet Earth can stop a willing spirit, a willing heart from winning. The human spirit is always a triumphant spirit. All these challenges notwithstanding, the human spirit will still triumph. So let's not just see whatsoever we encounter that is contrary to our personal expectation or a desire as something that is impossible. Whatsoever we encounter that may appear challenging is actually, in the real sense of it, an opportunity to bring out something new. To bring out something new. Can you imagine this guy? You can see that his mindset is adaptable. It's fluidic. And in the fluidity of his thinking, he felt that, well, people do sit down in specific locations looking for bags or some joints, but then let him devise his own means of taking it to them. Probably that's the only asset he could lay his hands on. No money to actually pay for it or rent a shop premise, but we can see innovation in action. And when the person who sent it to me, I said, oh, this is innovation, creativity. And then he said, oh, is that creativity? Of course, is it not? For his own niche, is that not so? For the target market, is that not so? And he gives us a peculiar kind of smile. He makes us look at what others normally will disregard and not actually pay attention to. So we have a mobile bar. And then he has his peculiar table along with it. For you this week.
That's interesting.
You see, life must be fun, isn't it? Life must be fun, actually. And some of us, we take life so seriously, to the point that we are not in a position to see those vivid possibilities that are actually obviously around us. So, once again, I'm happy to be with you. I know you've had this story sometimes in the past, but I want to rehash it again. Once upon a time, there were 6 blind men from Hindustan. Remember that story? They went and experienced an elephant. And they had different encounters with the elephant. You don't want to miss out? I like your story. You remember this story? Master, you remember this story?
Vaguely.
Maybe. Vaguely. You are a very smart woman. Now, one touched the tail, one touched the side, the other one touched the ear. Different parts of the body were actually encountered, and they all had different experiences. The one that touched the tail said it looked like a snake. The other one that touched the ear said it looks like a leaf. The other one that actually touched the toe said it looks like a spear. Another one said, oh, no, the elephant cannot be a spear. The elephant that I touched is what? Looks like a wall. The one that touched the side. The one that actually touched said it looks like a rope. Everyone, according to his or her own experience. The one that touched the leg said it looks like a tree trunk. Now, if we ask ourselves the question, were they right or wrong? Science. They were all right. But will you say that's the way the elephant looks? But what made them right? Sir? Perspective. So when we look at issues and we have our perspective, and then we say we are right, does it make us right?
No.
That implies that there is a limitation, even in our perspective. It requires us, therefore, to have that kind of tolerance to actually incorporate the perspective of others into our own perspective. Avoid being judgmental, that once your own perspective is different from mine, I must be right, you must be wrong. It's a phenomenon that we have observed in life that actually, if you look at it at a broader level, is even responsible for virtually all conflicts in life. Even the most bitter wars that we see being fought, it's always this inability to tolerate the other perspective. The person who sent me that bicycle also sent me another clip just recently now. And it's also very interesting. It's from India. How in certain parts of India, a woman can marry 2, 3, 4 men, and the 4 of them must be brothers in the same family. So it's only one woman who comes in. You are squeezing your face. But I hope I'm making some sense. That's what she said to me. I looked at it and said, wow, so strange. Isn't it so strange, completely different from what we are used to? One woman will marry 2 brothers. This one that she said to me, 3 kids. Who is the father of this one? He's not that concerned. How do they even manage that relationship? And yet, in that very locality, it's an interview by a journalist from CNN. More than 300 people, or let's say 300 families, with a lady marrying 2, 3 men in a family. So I wonder who the head would be in such a situation, according to our own perspective. So you see, life is full of contrariness, and I feel that beauty manifests itself only through contrariness, only through diversity. So what is needful most of the time, the mindset that we need to actually take our business, our venture, our activities to the next level is a mindset that can actually synthesize harmony through conflict. There will be conflict, but of all conflicts that you probably will encounter, you must have your own ability to do what? Synthesize harmony out of conflict. And when we are able to do that, so if you have a different opinion to my opinion, the onus as an entrepreneur, and I add this, a divine entrepreneur. I feel that it's the divine entrepreneur who correctly will get to the next level. Now, I'm not talking church. I'm simply feeling that if an entrepreneur can actually see his business as God-given, as the reason for his being, the purpose why he's here on earth, the reason why he's still here and he's not gone to heaven, then that individual will take it as a divine calling, as a mission, as a purpose, as a duty of life. And by so doing, that individual gets to the next level by having the right mindset. Understanding that in life, beauty comes out of diversity. Tolerating the contrary opinion. And then synthesizing harmony out of conflict. I hope I'm not wasting your time. Well, not yet. You said not yet. So you'll see therefore that if it were to be possible for these 6 blind men to actually integrate their perspective, they will have a more robust perspective. They will have a better understanding of what an elephant truly looks like, rather than each and every one of them holding on to their own view, holding on to their own perspective. This is a critical mindset for the entrepreneur who intends to move to the next level. So all we do, therefore, as entrepreneurs, is to actually impact our environment, to bring something to the environment, to make sure that the environment supports a better level of beauty. I feel that the primary duty of an entrepreneur is the act of making things better. And if you make things better, then you make it brighter, isn't it? And for the entrepreneur, there is nothing like the best. It's always, you make things better. Now, grammatically, we talk about after better, then the best. But you see, it's a mindset that you should throw into the past and not carry into the future. Because more and more, we can see that there is nothing that is best in life. There is really nothing that is best in life. Because everything is going through a kind of dynamic equilibrium. Yeah, it looks as if it's a state of equilibrium, but that equilibrium is not static. It's dynamically moving. So if it is dynamically moving, then there can be no best in that kind of phenomenal experience. So we make things better, and then we make things brighter, and everything that we make brighter ultimately becomes beautiful. So the entrepreneur is always in the business of making things better, brighter, beautiful, and that is for the environment to make life a better qualitative experience, to be a solution provider. And I think that is where the divinity actually comes in. Because if you are a solution provider, you are like a little God, providing answers to the needs of the environment. But an environment is always an environment because primarily it spins events. An environment sustains us because it's always creating events. And then you also see that an environment operates within the realm of time because of events. Time becomes a meaningful experience in man's life, in humanity's life, because of events. If there are no events, then time is meaningless. So, environment is an environment because it's always creating events. And for us, thriving in an environment, you will discover that when events are created, for those who are paying attention, for those who are connected with that environment, the events will be interpreted and it will ignite ideas in such individuals who are paying attention, who are sensitive to what is happening in the environment. You will see that many times that what time you speak that news here in a couple of hours time, and there will be news, national news, state news, local news. Now you have DSTV, you have the BBC, Al Jazeera, CNN, and sometimes I ask people, why must you watch all this news? Why must you listen to this news? We have to listen to the news. If we are sensitive, it becomes beneficial because we know what is happening in our environment. We know the events that are characterizing our environment, and by so doing, we are either upgrading an existing idea that we have. We become more correct with the idea that we are running with or that we are working with. When we are not that connected, the possibility of you taking your idea to the next level will not be there. You will only be playing catch up, so to say, or you just begin to use your energy in such an irresponsible way, because most of the time, forces that are defining what will be happening in the environment have already changed the dynamics, and you are only aware of it. So that's why news, they are always very crucial. News is closely linked to information, isn't it? But when the news has arrived and it has been internalized, it's no longer news. It's more or less information. So you are already informed. So when ideas come to the thinking entrepreneur, to the entrepreneur that is paying attention and is sensitive, I'm repeating that again and again. Thinking entrepreneur is sensitive and is also paying attention. Some people will listen to the news. In fact, by the time they get up to either go for a glass of water and say, what did you hear from the news? You have nothing to say. So I think they were saying something about it. And before you know what is happening, they are uninformed. We must pay attention. One major problem that our own civilization is going through now is paying attention. We have a lot of things that are contending for our attention. All these gadgets that these people are already hijacking our life with. You have laptops, you have phones, you have different kinds of gadgets. If they are not pinging you, they are WhatsApping you, they are BBM, everything now contests for our attention. And now the EPL too, the football season is here, and God help us. So, the one who pays attention, the entrepreneur, his ears are onto the ground, the antennas are in the air. When events occur, he knows ideas will come. If the idea is already there, the idea is further sharpened by these events. Then he goes into what I call brooding contemplation. In your spare time, I want you to look at the depth of the meaning of these two words. Brooding contemplation. Contemplation is a word I love so much. Because if you look at the root meaning, templum and come, that is, we come into a templum. Templum is also the root word for temple. And what it really means in that root word is open space. So we enter into an open space. Probably that's why they say you must have an open mind so that you can receive what is in the open. If you do not have an open mind, you cannot really contemplate. Am I making some sense? That is all that you have always been used to or you are accustomed to might hold you captive. So most of the time by the things we are not letting go that we are holding on to dearly, we impose a kind of imprisonment on ourselves instead of coming into the open space and then imbibe that which will actually birth this idea. And most of the time you see that you become restless when the time for the idea has come. Especially if you have a role to play in birthing that idea. So by brooding contemplation, you are already going through a process of actualization. That is in your mind. You are already seeing clearly. And it's always good and beautiful if you can take a piece of paper and then you begin to actually see what is in your mind and you are putting it down. I feel that the greatest thing that man can achieve in life, they are always achieved with your hands. So if everything is still in your head, I don't think you have come to know it the way it should know. But when you can take a pencil or take a pen, take a piece of paper, now of course you have all these other gadgets. Maybe they can go for a pencil and paper, the keyboard. You know, as long as you are doing something with your hands, you will actually be actualizing the idea. You will be improving the idea. There is a kind of fixity of focus that will enable you to see clearly. But for most of us, we are always in a hurry. Oh, this idea has come. Then we run along with the idea without actually having a clear and sharper comprehension of all that the idea requires. And that's why sometimes there is an abortion of idea along the line. And then we blame so many other factors. Oh, the banks are not supporting. Oh, the money is just not there. If you have not actually seen the idea the way it's supposed to be seen, if you have not brooded over the idea, if you have not gone into a mode of contemplation to actualize, you can't really convince another person to join you in your vision. Neither will you be able to convince those who will provide financial energy for the business. So through actualization, you now begin to move into the outer realm. From the inside, you move into the outside. And then you begin to make inquiries. How can I give life to this idea? How can this idea become a reality? Then you begin to gather data. As you are making your inquiries, you are actually gathering data. When you process data, you have what? Information. The moment you begin to process your data and you are integrating it, it becomes information. When you assimilate information to what you already do, what does it do? It upgrades your knowledge. When you act based on knowledge, you are creating value. You will be adding value. You will be different from someone who is simply acting based on assumptions. You know, they say assumption is the lowest level of knowledge. Every time you go through this process of building knowledge, of knowing what to do, and you act on what you know, you will be adding value. And when value is created, the proportion of value that you are able to capture becomes your income. Am I wasting your time? Not yet. Thank you. That's why I have a feeling that I always try to share with people. That when one truly has become the kind of entrepreneur that he's supposed to be, you will see that his focus will not be on what? On the income, but rather on the value created. It is at that point of connection that truly the entrepreneur begins to now think, how can I be more effective and more efficient? Because energy must not be wasted. So he has created value, then he begins to now say, having created this value, how can I capture a proportion of this value? So that, one, I can regain the energy that I have already compounded into the value, the benefits that I have offered the market. Then how do I recover it? So you recover a proportion of it. You see, you cannot really recover all value created. And that's why oftentimes I belong to the school of thought that says that the place of work is a place of sacrifice. If you look at the totality of benefits you have compounded into your market offering, and you say you want to place a price on virtually all, you will see that oftentimes the market will simply say we don't even have money to pay for that. Because you might place a particular level of expectation as the benefits that you have compounded to bring to you as a reward, as a return. But the market then said, well, we don't place that value, that kind of value you have placed on that benefit, we don't place that value on it. So you will discover that there is always a point of sacrifice. And that's where the divine nature of the individual comes from. That's why I always feel that the place for the entrepreneur is not a place of greed. When the entrepreneur becomes greedy, then he ceases to be an entrepreneur. He becomes a ruthless operator in the market who simply wants to take advantage of the market for his own benefit at the expense of others in the market. And I'm not saying one is good or the other one is bad. I'm only coming from my own point of view. So you should accommodate me if you are a ruthless capitalist. So the income that you have generated, how you manage it, how you are able to compound it and manage it will now define your wealth. And what do you do with wealth? Improve the quality of life, making things better, brighter, and beautiful. And then the environment continues on a progressive path of being better, being brighter, and being beautiful. And then life becomes an experience that is worth living. I feel that this is what an entrepreneur should actually understand. So if you are going to the next level, what next level are you going to? It is rooted in your environment. And then you'll also see that virtually in each of these, there will always be a next level. So if you can conceive another level, it implies that you must also see the next levels that are in each of these nodes. I call it a cycle of progression. But let's discuss. Let's have this discussion. My own school of thought. I am not here to tell you these are the methods by which you can go to the next level. I am rather more concerned about the interiority, who you are on the interior of your being and of your business, such that the gift of creativity that God has given to each and every one of us can actually be applied in the place of work. So I said to myself, if you look at this century, this civilization, there are certain keywords. There are 3 keywords that actually describes this century: energy, light, and acceleration. Energy, light, and acceleration. Josephine, am I wasting your time?
I'm sorry?
Direct.
Dorette.
Dorette.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Am I wasting your time?
Oh,
Not
no,
yet.
no.
Not at all. Like she said not yet.
No, I'm fine.
You're fine. Good. You know what Albert Einstein, what he said? He said, if you move at the speed of light and you pursue light at the speed of light will elude you at the speed of light. That's the theory of relativity. So if you are chasing light at the speed of light will always elude you at the speed of light. So if you are a light chaser, and we all are light chasers, we live and seek the light. Nobody wants to dwell in darkness. We're always pursuing the light. So by the time you actually attain onto a particular light that you have seen, what has light done again? It has moved forward. And light is a primary expression of energy on our planet. But every time there is light and there is energy, there will be what? Acceleration. The 3 of them can be used to describe our present civilization. And you can see, just in kind of description we had earlier on, how things are moving. By the time you are getting so comfortable with a particular gadget and you're saying, well, this is still the latest one, what happens? It's already been obsolete. The rapidity with which things come out, the rapidity with which ideas are generated, and the speed with which we encounter different manifestations in the world of phenomena is mind-boggling. So it looks as if, as energy is poured into earth, I think it's not out of place to say God expresses himself in the form of energy. I hope we don't have a pulpit man here. So that they will not say this man is talking blasphemy. But God, everything that God does on earth, he does by energy. He does by energy. As more energy, the nature of God is expressed on earth, we see more light. See the luminosity that we encounter. Every time I'm coming to Accra, I always love to come in the night, so that I can always see Accra from the sky. But these days that you're also having epileptic powers, and we have to review that. And it was always looking like a burning campfire, from the sky. And of course, there is a reason attached to that. The more you see light, especially in the night, the more the economic activities that are going on. So it's an indication of the extent to which the people are enterprising, the extent to which the people are engaged in activities that will make things better, brighter, and beautiful. So it's a measure of development, it's a measure of growth of the people themselves. So as more energy is poured, we have more light. And you discover that, okay, maybe we should ask ourselves, what is light actually? Joe and you, what is light?
Saying light is something new.
Something new.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Bright.
Bright. Okay. You want to tell us something, Patrick? Not yet. Okay.
Something that drives darkness away.
Something, what drives darkness away? So what is that thing that drives darkness?
It illuminates.
It illuminates. Yes. What is that thing that illuminates? In a simplistic form, light is knowledge. Light is understanding. Light is wisdom. 3 grades of light. At its lowest expression, it is knowledge. When you have knowledge, you are no longer in the dark. You know. Once you know, you have been brought out of ignorance. Do I make some sense? And then understanding. You know, understanding is different from knowledge. Understanding most of the time to me is a gift that comes because you have taken time to brood and contemplate on what you know. And now it looks as if for most of us sometimes, especially this side of the world, we really don't have time to brood. What we know, once we know something, say, I already know it, but you have not come to know as you are supposed to know. So we tend to run and make haste because of the tendency to do what? To accelerate. But if you take off and you accelerate and you gather momentum, when the sustaining power is not there, what happens at the end of the day? The balloon will be punctured and then you come down. So, light expressing itself as knowledge, as understanding, and as wisdom, which will come progressively, is not seldom instantaneously acquired, which is the reason why in that other slide I was emphasizing brooding, contemplation, actualization. You have to take time to do that, so that the light that has dropped in you in the form of an idea that you have now come to know can actually crystallize in you. Gather that required energy, which when set in motion can result in acceleration. And you will also see that increasing energy therefore will generate what? More events in the environment. And as more events are generated, the more time is speed up. Time moves faster. And you will discover that more and more physical activity will be on the increase. There will be acceleration in the things people will be doing, emotional intensity and mental dexterity. People are compelled to think. I showed you that bicycle mobile bar earlier on. You saw the bicycle mobile bar. I kept thinking of what must have been going on in the mind of that young micro enterprise entrepreneur. Well, what must have been going on in his mind? He probably must have seen that, well, this is a good market niche that I can address. But maybe the money to actually invest in a fixed location How many bottles do I even have to sell every day? If I'm able to sell a number of cups, get to people who are granulated in their desire for alcohol. What they want is just granules of it, fumes of alcohol coming into. So it comes with its shots, or what do you call that small number? Shot glass, and then it comes and is dispensing alcohol and is making business and is earning adequate returns for his efforts. And then he came over the bicycle. And then you can see the shop. In Nigeria, we are used to seeing footloose businesses, these tailors who will carry the machines on their shoulder. I'm sure you have the equivalent here. And then they move from one point. What do you call them? But at the point in time, that became a reality, isn't it? It became a source of income for people to capture income. They render valuable offerings in the market, and then in return, they are rewarded with income. So when we talk about speed can be on the outside, and on the outside, how do we see this speed? Physical activity, emotional intensity, and mental dexterity. But also, there is an inner speed, which is where most of us are lacking energy. Sometimes we cannot regulate how we rush on the inside into things. We are not able to actually regulate on the inside to say, if this is the right time to lay my hands on what I am about to do. It's a delicate one to talk about. It requires a lot of balancing. And you will see that it will also require a lot of persuasion and conviction to say this is the right time to come into the market. Then also one other thing that I see that distorts that is the tendency to always want to be the number one. Sometimes I ask people, what does it matter? Why do you want to be number one? We have come through a civilization where we feel that once we are number one, we are the best that can ever happen. This tendency, again, most of the time, does not allow us to sustain whatever entry we have made and then be there for the long run. You are your number one, and before too long, number one becomes history. It just become another statistics, if at all you are fortunate to enter into statistics. And then you discover that those who actually will go the long run, they are the ones that are enduring in statistics. They are the ones that are actually crystallizing in statistics. So we say that, therefore, these two, outer speed and inner speed, must be balanced. And it must result in a constructive use of energy. That is the time, I feel like this preparation will tell you the time you can go to the next level. If you rush into the next level without getting it right at this level, there will be a crash landing. So to avoid such crash landing, let's begin to ask ourselves, how do we actually engage with energy, light, and acceleration? See the quantum of information that arrives. Information overload is one of the challenges we have today. And nobody seems to have any excuse anymore. If you don't understand anything, what do? Almost within seconds, you are doing that on the internet, and then as you get to the web, what happens? You have a load of information available to guide you in the choice you are going to make. So, constructive use of energy becomes the desire of that entrepreneur who wants to get to the next level. Because energy has no favoritism. It doesn't have favors to give to anyone. When you engage with energy the way you are supposed to engage with it, you are rewarded. When you engage with energy the way you are not supposed to engage with it, you are mocked. We have what here? For instance, electrical energy. If you want to engage with energy and you are in a hurry, you go and get a sharper object because you have a 2-pin plug and put inside, and then let your hand make a contact with the metal. Then you will know, you will be taught how to engage with energy. Am I making some sense? Yeah. So we must know how to engage with energy. And all of us are actually under this light by which energy expresses itself. When light drops into you, brings idea to you, events that are created will represent the type of cause. We have discussed that in our earlier slide. Ideas are therefore generated. Now, when this happens to the individual, there is a stirring of emotions. Hello? There is something that happens to your feelings. What people call gut feelings. At a lower level of awareness, you are aware of a feeling. See, we tend to pay a lot of attention to that which is mental. And the true entrepreneur must operate from the mental level. But you will discover that for the entrepreneur to make the appropriate decision at the mental level, there must be a true connection at the emotional level. That is, there must be a kind of integration between the mental and the emotional. Sometimes I've had people talk about one being superior to the other. I really don't belong to that school of thought. I rather believe in integration. And if you can integrate your emotional being with your mental being, it is said that you come as a truly integrated personality. So if you are a truly integrated personality, as you are making analysis, as you are conducting researches, as you are actually going through logical reasoning, there is also another aspect of information that we don't seem to pay much attention to. Our feelings at the lower level and at the higher level of expression, our intuition. You see, the reason why most of the time it appears as if women seem to have a deeper insight to issues. You know, sometimes, not all the times. But sometimes they seem to. If the woman is well programmed, if the woman is not cantankerous, and if the woman is not agenda pushing, she seems to operate from a rarefied level of understanding that men sometimes don't have. Because men, by our nature, we are programmed to make decisions by facts. But women, by their nature, they seem to make decisions by their feelings. Like, it doesn't mean that they don't also look at facts. But then, first and foremost for the woman, the feelings, the intuition tells her this is what is happening. And then she seems to know without any iota of doubt. And 99% of the time, she will be right. And I think that's why men in their businesses must learn to trust their wives more. Am I safe? It's because of this factor of emotions, which I refer to here as our inferiority factor. Emotions, most of the time, seldom you see emotions being calm. But most of the time when emotions rear excess, there is a lot of turbulence. You have mood swings. Now if you are an entrepreneur and you do not know how to actually handle your emotions and balance it and bring it to a level of serenity, and then achieve what we call equanimity as an individual, you will see yourself investing when you're not supposed to invest. You will see yourself making certain decisions that you are not supposed to make. And then it becomes a learning process. You are punished for making suboptimal decisions. But because you are emotionally attached to the business, what happens? You find a way around it and then you move on. You don't give up. That's what we call resilience. You fall and then you are able to do what? Pick yourself up again and you run along. But for the fully integrated personality, seldom will such falling happen. Because there is an element of right timing. And there is an element of knowing intuitively from a rarified, exclusive realm of pure reason. Am I talking too much? Of pure reason. And that is why the brooding contemplation is crucial for an entrepreneur. It's something that we must learn to practice. It is one thing for you to agree in your head that you need to contemplate and brood over issues. But it's another thing for you to practice it as your default response. You see that for some of us, sometimes when we have issues that are bothering us, what do? We want to sleep over it. If I approach you, Joe Mando, and I say, oh, Joe Mando, I need your advice on this and this and this, and you cannot, as a matter of fact, connect with your pure reason realm. You say, okay, let's give me time, let me sleep over the matter. And then the following day when I'm coming to you, because you have slept, maybe you never even gave it a thought. But because you have slept over the matter, it's there, your emotions picks it up, analyzes it, and as you see me, it says, tell me this. So you have something to tell me, and I say, oh, thank you so much. And I move off your presence with so much enthusiasm, energized again to carry on. So we must, of necessity, practice this brooding contemplation. If you meet church people, meet spiritual people, they talk about meditation. Meditation is a form of brooding consideration. That is, the thought is here at the frontal of your consciousness, and the fixity of your focus is on that thought and on actually bringing. I stretch this imagination of mine sometimes, and I say, actually, it is at that point that we are different from an animal. When an individual cannot actually think about issues, he is more or less equivalent of a chimpanzee. Because every other thing in us and the chimpanzee, they say they are similar. The only thing that the chimpanzee does not have compared to us is the convoluted part of our brain, the cerebral cortex. And that's the headquarters of thinking. So if you choose the lazy man's way, the comfortable corridor, and you fail to think as you are supposed to think, brood, and consider, then you have relegated yourself to the level of a chimpanzee. And the only reward you get will be the reward. Joe Michael. So, our attitudes, therefore, will revolve and actually affect our thoughts. You see, attitude is something that I always ask people, do we really understand what attitude means? I ask often because it's a key word in driving emotions. As a matter of fact, it's your attitude that touches the chemistry of your body and makes your emotion to behave in a particular way. It releases the energy of life through your biological chemical centers, the endocrine system in your body. Your attitude will pick events, pick the ideas, interpret them. So attitude is like a type of programming in each and every one of us. And the source, in a challenging way, and that's where the challenge comes to us, the source of our attitude starts ever before we started thinking. Am I making some sense? That's why you find some preachers who will say, your attitude will define your altitude. If you, as an entrepreneur, discover that there are attitudes that are holding you captive and not enabling you to actually foray into the largeness of possibilities, the infinite possibilities that you can explore, as we discussed with that initial exercise we had, you will discover that you have to go back to the primaries, to the first principle, and that's your attitude. Look at the attitude that is holding you back. Oftentimes, these are very soft, and they may not actually appear principal to many of us. In fact, sometimes we defend it and we say that is who I am. But this who you are is working against the real I am that you can be. So you must be emotionally honest with yourself. And then look at your attitude. Attitude, in a simplistic sense, is actually the orientation that we have. Is the point of view that we hold. But what makes them crucial is that it is by this orientation and this view that we interpret events, moment by moment. If there is an event right in this room now, we will for all go back into our subliminal consciousness and interpret that event based on our attitude. Unfortunately, in our growing up, babyhood experiences, we have started storing up programs which sometimes they call autopilot of life, which constitute our attitude. And then the challenge again is that by the time we reach age 7, the attitude is already having a platform upon which it interprets events. By age 7, the thinking brain now becomes more active. So you will see that somehow, if I am coming from a dysfunctional background, I might have dysfunctional attitudes. And then sometimes I will behave, even at my age, in a way that will be a shock to some people that that man said, why should he be behaving in that way? That's not what I'm here to talk about, but it's very important for us to know about attitude. So the next level, you are entering it, or you are actually holding yourself back from the next level by your attitude. So this attitude, they control our thoughts, intuition, and also the way we reason, the way we think. They define the emotional energy that is released. Some people like to refer to emotions as emotions. Emotions. Energy in motion. So the energy that is released that propels us into act is actually dependent on our attitude. And when this energy is released in our body, it does something to us. It affects. In the colloquial sense, affect is another word for emotions. It affects us. And how you are affected by an event defines your response. So if others are actually acting in a particular way and they are getting it right because of the way they have been affected, and you simply want to mimic them, you will know that you are coming from two different platforms. They will have the appropriate energy required to actually move on, but you have not been infused with that kind of energy because you have not been so affected. You know, the other word that comes readily that we can really identify with is, affection comes from affect. And you know what affection does to you. When you say yours affectionately, you know what that implies. And you know the kind of energy that affection renders. Sometimes it doesn't allow you to think properly. You find yourself getting affected and attached to what you should detach from. So when such a force comes into the individual, a lot of regulation is required. A lot of thinking, a lot of reasoning is required. Because affection, in the real sense of it, if you actually overrun all these other ones and you go into affection, it will not allow you to think. Maybe an illustration I usually make here is if you are so tired, you work so much during the day, and you are so tired and you are here, the moment you sit down for a while, what happens to you? You tend to sleep. Because the affect in you is telling you that we now need to repair some parts of your body that have been overused and in imbalance. And simply, what your emotional brain will simply do is hijack every cell in your body and say, shut down. Now, this is not a bedroom for you to shut down, but you find yourself actually shut down. And if I say, Joe, my Joe, what is happening? Say, I'm with you. So, we need to pay attention to these issues because they actually affect the way we pay attention. And what we pay attention to, what we are sensitive about, is what we will identify with. What we identify with because we are so affected is what we actually define the way we use our energy. And for an entrepreneur, I say the entrepreneur is an ambassador of God on earth, involved in form play. That is playing. You are involved in the game, in the game, so to say. The game of life, isn't it? And it's a game that involves you creating forms. Hello? I ask the question every time, who truly earn income amongst different kinds of people around us today that will say, well, this is astronomical, if I may use the word. The kind of income they earn. They earn it because they are playing. Footballers. And then, you see the footballers, do you think they spend so much time thinking when they are on the pitch? When they get into box 18, for instance, that guy called Messi, or what they call him, do you think he will take time to say, I must kick this ball at angle 78 degrees, it must go through? There is no time for that. Because he's what? He is actually playing. So the entrepreneur is involved in form play. Is engaged in the act of creating forms. Hello? The world of phenomena is a world of forms. Beauty is always rooted in forms. You want to do? This bottle of water is a form, isn't it? And then I ask for another bottle of water that is coming from another organization, the form will be different. What do you call it as entrepreneurs? Packaging. All is about forms. Forms revolves around shapes, cones, rectangles, squares, pyramids, triangles, and the like. By the time you begin to move around different forms, you bring beauty to reality. Imagine what these footballers are now week. It's only people who actually engage in form play as their natural default that earn high incomes. I used to wonder when these comedians started manifesting in the last 10, 15 years. I kept saying, this is a waste of time. But now I know better. They say one or two things which is just natural. It flows naturally in them. They are playing in their mind. And as they are playing and making people laugh, we are also paying them for making us laugh. I think the time an entrepreneur discovers that aspect of him, and now you direct your life energy solely in that form, creating forms that is your own play. It's only then that you are attracting and magnetizing high income. Because people will always reward you. This comment, look at all this Nollywood, the way people are rushing to be part of it now. And some of us, we have that naturally in us, we are humorous. But then, if you do not know how to connect and begin to play in that form, you may not be able to attract the kind of income that gets to them. I hope I'm making some sense. Okay. So when you are going to engage in form play, you need connections. You need to synthesize. You need fusion. We'll come back to that before I finally round up. But for you to actually create forms, begin to look at that word. I'm emphasizing it. Form. Form. Every new model of a car is a type of form. This building, last time I came to see a sublet somewhere around there, it was a type of form. You made the most of the form you had there. Now you are in another form. We are all in the business of creating forms. If I'm called upon tomorrow to come and deliver this talk, the form definitely will be different. And that is where creativity comes into the life of the entrepreneur, because it's rooted in the act of creating forms. And for you to actually be an expert at that, you must have the capacity to do what? To visualize. Visualization is key. You can't enter into the next level when you have not visualized it. Imaging, form imaging. You get an image of the form. Even I think the scripture said that God said to Moses, see what I have shown you about the tabernacle. You see the form it must take. See to it that you create it exactly according to the form that I have showed you. So when you enter into purism, as I said earlier on, when your intuition and your thoughts have perfected the form, then you can engage in its imaging. When you create the image of it, you are already in the process of forming it. You are in form. I think information comes from in form. You see that form is also key in information. The key word there is form. So when news is coming to you, it's announcing a new form that you should pay attention to. Do I make some sense? If you don't pay attention to it, you see that. You know, how many times have we actually had ideas that we fail to pay attention to? And then someone else will now come, make that idea, have a form, and then you say, oh, but I thought about it. We have lost our own moment of opportunity. So when you engage in form making, you will then find yourself going into the era of what? Perform, which is performance, isn't it? To perform. And in performance, as you are performing, you will be what? Reforming. As you are reforming, you are also doing what? Transforming. And all this form engagement leads you into making things better, brighter, and beautiful. So at that stage, you are ready to externalize by taking informed action. Your activities will be as a result of the fact that you have already actualized the form in your brooding, in your thinking, and through synthesis, through fusioning, bringing connections, things that hitherto were not related with one another, you bring a relationship out of it. That is the only way you enter into the next level. Otherwise, you remain at the same level. Heraclitus, Heraclitus was a great philosopher, and he said something. He said, you only step into a river once. You don't step into the same river twice. You know what that means? You do not step into the same river twice. Yes, thank you, sir. Because the moment you step into a river and you come out of the river, next time you are stepping into the river, it's no longer the same river. The water you stepped into must have moved on. So you are stepping into a new river. That must be the attitude of an entrepreneur. That's the way to look at it. So when I encounter entrepreneurs who will tell me this is the way we do things here in Ghana, this is the way we always do things, this is the way things work out in Ghana, that person has not fully gone through a process of integration to be truly integrated in his emotion and his mental self, and that person is not actually ready as an ambassador that will take things to the next level. Because you will always be doing it as it has always been done. And unless you go through a mindset change, unless there is a transformation, there is a reforming going on, so that your performance will be based on the fact that you are truly informed of what will characterize the future, not what has characterized the past. Our past we must confront and face. But right now, the activities of every entrepreneur is to actually prepare for the future. I feel that it's an error to always think that the future will be a replica of the past. I don't think there is any connection. Especially if you have learned what you are supposed to learn about the past and you have internalized it in you. You confront the consequences of your past, you process it, but you look into the future, give you the kind of mind and ability to actually generate ideas so that you can have a discerning power of what the future will look like. When you have been informed of what the future will look like, you can enter into a state of performing a manifestation of that future through a process of reforming that which is of the past that is trying to hold you captive and attach you to what has expired. Because oftentimes, this is the way we do things in Ghana. It's an expiration. And when people talk like that, that person belongs to the rubbish heap of history. not the relevant future. That, for some people, you know something in the future will become a surprise. For those who are prepared and they are ready to engage the future with the right spirit, they are ready to externalize and act today coming from the future. I love this quote of Goethe. You know what he said? He said, knowing is not enough. We must apply. If you know, if you have received an insight into something and you are not applying it, you are actually a nuisance, even to God and even to man. Because the reason why he has come to make you know in the first instance is so that you may do what? You may apply it. So if you do not apply what you know, then you have no benefit to anyone. And that's why I refer to you as God's ambassadors on earth. Because God is in the business of making things new every now and then. And he relies on the entrepreneurs to actually manifest that newness by giving them ideas that will make things better, brighter, and beautiful. You see, I cannot go away from those three, the three B's. Making things better, brighter, beautiful. It is the urge for the manifestation of this that propels us and gives us the impulse of wanting to get into the next level and come out of the box of imprisonment which your culture, which your tradition, which your dogma might have imposed upon you, or which you have brought upon yourself willingly. Because most of the time, when you see things of the past and you say that is the way it must be done, right now when it has expired, what Einstein again was the one who said it. He said you cannot solve a problem by the same mindset that created that problem. And that's what some of us sometimes we try to do. And then that also makes me appreciate God more. That God is very patient with us. Because then, instead of you to look at your mind and your attitude, you go to prayer and begin to disturb God. Come and do it for me. Come and transform it for me. Come and rather than to take a mind to say, I am in the open space. What am I supposed to do? You must come with a discriminating mind to say, okay, this one that I used to do in this particular way, I put it aside. There is a new way of doing it. It's only when you brood and you enter into a temple of contemplation that you will see God himself now drop into you an iota of understanding. Understanding comes only where people learn how to engage silence. If you engage in argument, if you engage manufacturing escapist explanations, you can't have understanding. But you will understand me better if I have to relate with you and I'm a difficult person. By simply doing first thing that is required of you to be silent when I engage you with my combat. To simply say, why is Lily behaving like this? And then you are silent. Then you can hear quietly that voice that will tell you, this is the problem. Light will come in. And when that light drops into you, then you say, oh, now I know why. I understand. And that understanding is coming as a gift such that you can know how to engage and relate. It's not for you to now take advantage, but rather to know how to engage and relate for the purpose of enterprising, of being an enterprising entrepreneur. You know the word entrepreneur is from a French word, entrepreneur, which simply means to engage, to be involved in. So you are an entrepreneur because there is a restlessness that grows on the inside of you when you see what you have capacity to be engaged with. Do I make some sense? And always my own school of thought is to ignite in you a desire to engage for the benefit of others, not necessarily for your own benefit at the expense of others. If you engage for the benefit of others, then they can compensate you with a rewarding income by which you have something to say. Yes, I have pioneered a solution that is making life better, brighter, and beautiful. He then went on to say, willing is not enough. We must do. That is our duty as entrepreneurs. We have to therefore know how we use the life energy God has deposited in us. It conditions our behavior. And this behavior requires that we must maintain the right position and the right posture. This is crucial. If you are going to appear before the banker, for instance, you can't go there and be in a situation, in a position, and your posture is such that it's not evoking confidence. And then you are fasting and praying, God just touch this man. Is that not a manipulative approach? I think sometimes it's witchcraft. when you are coming to me and you know that this money, I'm just a custodian, somebody else's money, and then you are manipulating, you are using all your willpower, you are using everything to say, let me just approve that loan. Just approve it. I think you become an obstacle to the free flow of play. Do you get the picture? You become an obstacle to the free flow of play. So let's learn to have voice. Take time as an individual to ask yourself, what do I need to truly be a voice to fellow? You need a true integrated personality. I use that word again, integrated personality. See why most people lack integrity? Because in their mind, there is a desire. Emotionally, there is another desire. So there is a conflict. Some people internally, they are working civil war. On the inside, the conflict is much. But remember what I said earlier on. The onus is on us as entrepreneurs to actually synthesize harmony out of conflict. When we succeed at doing that, and we have what is referred to in psychology as an integrated personality, they say that personality is a fully developed individual. When you have that on the inside of you, then you have what we call poise. With this poise, your behavior will take a different connotation. As a matter of fact, one major benefit of a poised individual is what I refer to as authentic presence. When you see a truly poised individual, not someone who is going through hype or who is imbibing hype. You know, you find some people, the way they dress and even the way they walk is so imposing that you must just see me by all means. And then they try to give you an impression of what they really don't have on the inside. But when you come across a truly poised personality, he will not impose himself. But you know somebody I'm talking about?
Yeah, keeping up appearances. Mrs. Bouquet or Bucket. This Bucket, but she's.
The bankers.
No, her name is Bucket.
Okay.
But she calls herself
Mrs.
Mrs. Bouquet.
Yeah, Mrs. Bouquet.
It's spelled B-U-C-K.
In fact, that happened to me. Was it not yesterday that one of your journalists on your radio was going to pronounce the word, and the way he went about pronouncing it, I said, "Is this man a Ghanaian?" You know, and then you begin to see a lot of falsehood,
Oh, yeah.
not authenticity. That's why I said the truly poised individual comes with authentic presence. When he stands, even without talking, people will notice him. You create a space around yourself because of the authenticity of your thoughts, of your feelings. On the inside of you, what you radiate out will attract that which is good. People will, have you never experienced that where you just stand somewhere and someone comes to you, what can I do for you, sir? Do you want something? I try to do that every time at the airport. It works sometimes and sometimes. I was very excited when it worked one day for me in Accra here. I came to give a talk and I was rushing. I was running late for my flight, and I just said to myself, just remain calm. To truly have poise, you must know equanimity. You must know that serenity. You must have that calmness on the inside of you. There might be turbulence on the outside, but you are what? Calm on the inside. So I calmly walked into the airport, and I kept saying to myself, you just remain calm. And I just saw this guy, he walked, I saw him as he was walking. I just said, you don't look at him, just remain calm. And then he came to the gate and was talking with the lady there, and then pointing at me. I said, just remain calm. There is something we call emotional reticence. You are not expressing any anxiety or any happiness or any mood on your face. It's also an aspect of calmness. And then the lady looked at me and said, he said, thank you. He said I should upgrade you to first class. I said, do it first. How calmly again? I said, voice. And I then knew the difference between first class and the one that I'm used to. You see, voice got that for me. So we consciously must practice it till it becomes our default. Consciously as an entrepreneur. Otherwise, the agitation that will be going on when ideas want to express themselves in you is always very heavy. If you are not careful, you enter into a state of anxiety. You can see what happened to Pistorius now. His major problem was what? Inability to manage anxiety. If you look at the judgment again, you still see that the woman was simply saying he didn't behave responsibly. That because you could be attacked does not mean that you should go to bed with a shotgun under your pillow. And then he was sent to the psychiatrist to be examined for GAD, general anxiety disorder. If you are always calm, you will not be anxious. And as I was trying to say when we started, there is nothing, okay, it wasn't here, there is nothing that the human spirit can conquer. Nothing. There is nothing, let me tell you something, my friends. Anything that you are afraid of is something you can conquer. That is anything that brings fear to you. The truth about that thing is that it is something you have the ability to triumph over. And when you look at it from that perspective, then there is no need for you to be anxious. No need for anxiety. Maintain your poise. It is in that poise that your brooding and your contemplation can further be consummated. But if you are agitated, oh, this one may happen. Oh, where will I get this? Oh, that. Oh, and sometimes you become so jealous of what others are doing. Unnecessary rivalry comes in as against you actually looking at others as co-players, learning from what they are doing, and then going at your own speed, developing that incubation of light and energy for your own acceleration. Am I making some sense? There is nothing that can hold you back once you have attained acceleration. You know, what did Einstein give to mankind? E is equal to mc squared. Mass times acceleration. Is that also the speed of light? So when you are calm, when you have the right posture, when in your own mind you have taken a position, your willpower is also at work, you will see that your behavior will be such that you can at all times carry out, give effect to your dream, overcome obstacles, triumph over limitations. Yeah, I was telling you this church I went, and then I had to tell them the true, like my own opinion about Jesus walking over water. You see, because water is the most mysterious element God created. I was telling you, you are asking me, I must be careful not to talk too much now. but it's the most mysterious element. There is nothing you do in life without water. You can't build anything without water. Think about it. And water is very watery, slippery, unstable in terms of behavior and character. But yet, it is the thing that defines what you can. This building cannot be without water. Sam, I'm making some sense. And yet, very unstable. One moment it is what? Tranquil, calm, always unannounced. What happens? Turbulence. But if we say we truly know our God as a divine entrepreneur, what do you do actually? You should emulate Christ. Be like him. Everything he did, you can also do. You can walk on the turbulence of the markets, on the turbulence of debtors, on the turbulence of your creditors, who will soon call back their facility. They give you a lot of turbulence, affliction. But you can do what? Calmly walk. It is in that calmness that the solution will always drop into your mind. I say to people, do you think to have ideas? Do you think that we think to have ideas? Sir? No, thank you, my brother. Ideas are gifts. They drop. You say what?
They just appear.
Oh yes, they just drop. Sometimes you say from nowhere, but they drop from something that I read in my secondary school days that now makes sense to me. They drop from the cloud. Cloud. The expansiveness of the cloud. The energy of the cloud. Internet works through the cloud. Laser works through the cloud. Fiber optics works through the cloud. So much is in the cloud. Even now, these handset makers are beginning to think that we shall be charging our phones by the energy in the cloud. Do you know the quantum of energy in the cloud? What I read that time is all men are dwelling under the rain cloud of knowable things. I never understood it. I think I was in primary, in Form 4.
Was that a poem or something?
No, it was a novel that I was reading. It says all men are dwelling under the rain cloud of knowable things. And I discovered this from the Far East. that statement. It was a quote. But is it true or not? We are all under the cloud of knowable things. When you are team, you see, if you have a television here, you do a lot of tuning. Is that also channel? It's also something we call channel. That something we call. That's the way we should relate to the cloud. Tune in. When you tune into your own right wavelength, because you have always been brooding and contemplating, ideas will do what? Drop. But when you don't tune in, when you are busy worrying about the kind of dinner, how palatable it will be, how delicious this fried rice and the cake, when that is what is filling your mind, or amorous feelings. When this is what we brood over, occupying every space of the mind, then from the rain cloud of knowable things, the rain won't fall. The rain won't fall. So we must learn how to tap into it, and then by that we are able to do what? Give effect to, even accept responsibility, and then we can take the right action. This is what psychology has taught me in recent times, and I love this because it shows clearly to me, or it gives me an explanation of certain things that somehow appear mysterious. I was telling you about the mystery of water. You know, in water, for instance, is the only element on earth that is lighter in a solid state than its liquid state. No other element has that feature. You know one that is contrary? Or you are thinking about it? Yeah, Fitzroy. True of us. Ice block will always float. Very light. No other element has that feature. Now they say water also has memory. Masaru Emoto. Check it. Google it. If you think the way you are thinking and you are holding a bottle of water, that water will also absorb your thoughts. Yes, think about it. Just think about it. But what I have discovered is these vibrations, behavioral vibrations, they actually affect our voice. And it's as if these 7, we don't have all the time today, but I'll stop with this. These 7 actually condition us, affect us, either consciously or unconsciously. It's as if these 7 represents the way energy of God expresses themselves on earth. For the individual, for the collective entity of people, even for nations, even for the whole planet Earth. 1 is will, purpose, and power. 2 is love, wisdom. 3rd one, active intelligence. 4th one, I've mentioned that harmony through conflict. Concrete knowledge, that is science. Devotion, which is what we love in our religion. And of course, the 7th one is ceremonial order, which is the key requirement or phenomenon that makes businesses succeed. Okay, it was Baba Ope that I was having that chat with. For some of us, for someone like me, I've always been a lecturer. Free, you know, a lecturer is always too loose. He can say any nonsense. And he's always, most of the time, very arrogant. That's why they suffer the disease I call disabling ignorance. Because they think that they know. So they disable themselves by their ignorance to know as they are supposed to know. Now, as a lecturer, free to say anything, I had the opportunity of now doing something for an organization. I could not cope. Because in the organization, everything must be by order. There is an orderliness. Sadly, it's progressing because you have established what? Order. You are able to bring people together and you are creating a kind of ritual. This is becoming a ritual already. Is it not so? Every Friday, I guess, you come here and you are discussing and you are sharing ideas. Someone comes in. So it's a ritual. But for a lecturer, there is too much chaos in his mind and in his head. He's not too comfortable with other. So one basic requirement that makes businesses thrive is ceremonial order. This is very good for religion. But don't forget that if you are not also devoted, now bring it to the realm of an entrepreneur. If you are not really devoted to your idea, it will never see the light of day. If you are devoted to your idea and you cannot create an order, orchestrate your life energy in an orderly way, you will be a problem to everybody. Even people will not be ready to come and associate with you in order to make your dream a reality. And of course, concrete knowledge. We have that now very easily. Anything that is not clear right now, what do? You go and mine information. Source for information. Concrete knowledge is science in action. So much has been achieved in the realm of science that we don't need to act as ignoramuses any longer. You know who an ignoramus is? Someone who thinks he knows, but he does not know that he does not know. Because some of us sometimes we do that. Because they don't worry, I know, especially we, our own race. We are always too eager to say, don't worry, I understand what you want to tell me. The person has not even finished explaining what is about to tell you. You say, no, don't worry, everything. Is this not what you want to tell me? What kind of behavior is that? You see? So you will see that when that person is going to execute, the spirit of excellence will be absent. And of course, harmony through conflict. You must have that peace on the inner man. See, this is very crucial. If you can't achieve harmony in your interiority, you are actually the headquarters of corruption. Because it means that your emotional body is quarreling or at loggerhead or moving in a different direction from your mental body. And once that intrapersonal relationship is not harmonious, the only thing that can happen there is corruption. So when you come to express yourself, exteriority expression, the only thing you have to offer is the corruption on the inside. But when you come as a truly integrated individual who have come to achieve harmony and no more conflict in your emotional body and your mental body, then you will be found as having integrity. And do not forget that in the world of business, integrity is the key word. Increasingly, why that is being eroded, I do not know why. But it's because most people don't even pay attention to themselves first. They don't go by the principles that, look, even if you see something that is probably not appropriate in me, don't bother too much to correct me, because you might even have a greater weight that you should find a way of processing before you come and process mine. But we are quick. Oh, don't you know you should be dressing like this? Don't you know this is the way to do things? What about you? Have you examined yourself first? Have you actually come to a position where you can actually say, I know you should do this because I have experienced it? Intrapersonal relationship must be harmonious. When it is harmonious, then I can have harmonious interpersonal relationship. Intrapersonal harmonious will lead to interpersonal harmonious relationship. And then in terms of interactivity, there will be synchronicity. There will be resonance. Then there will be a manifestation and precipitation of the desire. But when you, first of all, can build intrapersonal harmony and interpersonal harmony, you are nothing but an agent of corruption because you are not integrated. Integrity, the same root word. You know, what is the nature of an integer? If you divide an integer by an integer, if you do, you always get what? One, isn't it? So you must be one with yourself. Be in harmony, be at peace with yourself before you can truly go to the next level. And of course, bringing all this, I don't want to because of my time. If you bring all this, I like to also see this in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And you remember Maslow in 1954, he wrote that. And then he said, man's basic needs And at the apex, what did he give us? Self-actualization. So you see, the entrepreneur is truly a living entity, not a merely existing entity, because he's actualizing himself. Honestly, I love that book. When I read it, it excited me. The writings of Maslow. He said, the true healthy man is a man who is self-actualizing. And I look at it truly. For us men, most men, when you are approaching your 60s, when gradually you are moving from 50 to 60, and there are still so many things you have not achieved, that deep down, you would have loved to achieve them. Then they say midlife crisis. And before you know what is happening, you are visiting doctors. BP is on the increase. Different kinds of this is. You move out of your ease into unease, then you find yourself progressing into this is. If you can't revert it, ultimately the person will become a disease. So the only way is on the individual to now walk around it. That look, now that I've found myself age 59, 58, 60, what is left to actualize? Zero in on it, because it is only when at that stage you are actually actualizing your dreams and visions and goals in life that you remain healthy. When you are not, see most men, when they do like this, as the many problems say, oh, no problem. No problem. But there is a big challenge. Then in 1971, he moderated this thesis of his, written in 1954. He said, having actualized himself, the true living individual will move into what? Self-transcendence. That is, he walk here on earth as a true ambassador of God, carrying out the will, purpose, and mission of God, transcending that which is of the planet Earth, moving more and more into the realm of that which results in becoming a co-creator of the future. That is the call of a true entrepreneur. Co-creating the future. And because the future, because the future is better known in the hands of God. So you must leave yourself in his hand and be truly attuned to him, so that you can do it here as he has done it. He's doing it out there. I do hope that one way or the other, we can therefore move, having perfected the interiority into the external, go through execution the way it's supposed to be done, so that our performance will truly be a true representation of what we have perceived here, from what we are living for, externalizing that which we have received from on high. Put in place the right process, and then do what? Bring in performance, and let quality be the uncompromising factor, because it will define the integrity of your person, of the entity you have created, which is your business, of the offering to the market, which will represent your services and your products. Once you are able to key into that from one level to the other, making things better, brighter, and beautiful. You see this picture? We all have a role to play. There are soldiers, food soldiers, that will come into your boat and help you and ensure that your baby will not fall down. As you try to take this, your baby, your business, your dream, to the next level. Even some people will come and supervise us. The idea must not fall. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
come close to the end, and if anybody has any questions for Dr. Lemmy, we've had an intense session. If you have any questions, we ask them.